Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Cultured Nerd Podcast. This week, we're finally back after apparently a couple-week hiatus, unfortunately. We are back, and we're going to be talking about some Superman news. Apparently, McFarlane Toys released a shipping manifest or some sort of internal list of a bunch of different figures for their entire Superman wave, and that list seemingly brought some plot points. And James Gunn did not debunk them. He actually went on to social media and said that this list was real and he approved it. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the rumors that have existed regarding this film's plot. They're now confirmed. And then from that, we're going to talk a little bit about, like Star Wars, Harry Potter, and a bunch of other cool new things that have come out in the last few days. So sit tight and let's talk about some nerd stuff. And here we are.
Why did we take a break?
Well, I had to leave the state for a few days to go pick up my family member who I have now power of attorney of. And then it was election week, and I just didn't feel like bothering you. I was like, maybe we shouldn't record.
Listen, appreciate that election grieving period. I'm happy to hop back on that horse. Also, congratulations on your full art wheezing in Pokemon Pocket.
Not even that. Have you looked at my collection lately?
No, I just saw that because it popped up as one of my wonder picks.
So I have been playing this game an ungodly amount. I got my initial pre-registration dump of packs that they gave me. And then I just started going right into like the PvP stuff. And apparently I have now officially completed the 151 part of the decks. And I was gifted this wonderful beauty of a card.
You got the full art Mew.
I did get the full art Mew. This thing is beautiful. Let me jump back in. Get out. Stop it, Koga.
I would need to. There, show me that beautiful baby. Show me that. Show me that binder. Yeah, and he flies around the whole world. You go to the caves.
It's one of those where you tap on that business, and then it's like, let's show you the animated world. So I got another achievement for having all 4 of the animated cards, which was pretty dandy.
Taylor, I would just talk about Pokemon with you for an hour. I know we're not here to do that. I'm telling you though.
There's a lot happening in the Pokemon world right now. Ever since the leaks, apparently there's even some leaks about who the starter type is. The starters are for the new ZA game. And it's apparently the XY starters, but with new evolution forms, which is
that's great because those poor guys need some new typing. That sounds like a wonderful thing to happen to them.
Yeah. So pretty excited about that. Michael and I have been playing Pokemon since we were kids. We were right at that age. We were like 10 or 11 when it's like Pokemon's here, and we're like, we identify with Ash. He is also 10. And then
the combat is so much more streamlined from the Game Boy game. The fact that they took out the energy portion of your deck and just guaranteed that per turn.
I like the 20 card deck. I like the the auto refill of your energy, and if you have multiple types in your deck, it alternates between each type, which I think is pretty cool to basically punish you for being adventurous.
I will say though that in the original Pokemon game, you go to a gambling corner and you're like, really, is this what Pokemon's about? After playing the coin, the head flipping simulator, Pokemon is a head flip game. It is a coin flipping game all day long.
Yeah, it always has been. It always has been. But so since we were gone, some things happened. The internet. So Penguin finished.
We can't talk about it here. What a great season. What a great payoff. We watched the movie before we watched the season finale. There are threads tied throughout this thing. Yeah. Everyone's there except for Batman.
My wife didn't want to watch it with me. And then when we got to the end of the finale, when all that stuff happened at the very end of the finale, she was like this. And I'm like, okay, all right. So you want to watch this with me now? She's like, maybe. Is that still Colin Farrell? I'm like, it is still Colin Farrell. And she's like, we'll watch it. I gave it I put out my review earlier today. I gave it a 9 out of 10. It was a damn near perfect show. had some weird pacing issues in some of the parts, but every episode topped the last one, and you really learn to just hate the Penguin. Like, there are some moments where you're like, oh, I feel bad for him, and then you're like, nope, he's a piece of shit.
Yeah, they do a really, and you just see him always willing to backstab to get to the
Everybody.
next guy. Yeah, he's got to be the guy. Um, multiple storylines pay off. I also feel that like they did a great job of showing how awful Arkham is. And like when they send people to Arkham or people come out of Arkham, they don't come back unscathed.
Yeah.
Now, I will tell you, though, this is a very dangerous territory this Penguin show has set up because it's good. And now they're going to have another movie. Now, you can see the new movie and not have seen the show, and I think that would be fine. I think if you've seen the show, when you run into characters from the show in the movie, they'll be a wonderful treat for you. But what is the show you do after this? And do you... And the way that TV works, Taylor, they need to start writing that show now. And they need to have nothing to do with the movie.
My guess, and this was something that was talked about a while ago. So my guess was that the next show that's going to happen is a Catwoman-centered show. And they're going to loosely adapt Catwoman When in Rome. And they're also going to use her new half-sister as a supporting character.
Yeah.
That's where I see it going, because this finale really did set up. I will say that non-spoiler wise, Penguin's final outfit, I enjoyed it a lot.
Oh yeah, it's so funny.
What we all wanted. I mean,
yeah,
you had the fuzzy fur coat, you had the top hat, you had the umbrella, but you had him like put it all down as he's walking into frame, and you're like, he had all the things. Where's the monocle? I need everything.
Well, they showed, but they play into his vainness in that way. And when he does show up with the monocle, I'll absolutely know why. Yeah, I'll absolutely think that because that's what he wants to do. He thinks I will
say this. My personal opinion with how everything went and how he's trying to reinvent himself to be in the political scene as he kind of situated himself, I could fully see himself create the persona of Oswald Cobblepot, and that be his new self. And he creates this new life under the name from the comics.
He had a scene in the show where when he was talking to that politician guy, and I was like, "Are you going to bite his nose off? Are you going to pull a Danny DeVito?
I'm not gushing blood," and bite him. Like,
I just saw they plugged him into the politics of Gotham in a very interesting way that makes me. It shows the world where you could even see Two-Face Harvey Dent interacting with this individual.
Yeah. And in this world, in this hyper realistic Gotham that is somewhat almost more realistic than the Nolan movies, because there's no like crazy super microwaving machine. It's all just like, this is all realistic and this is what we're doing.
There's super drugs. The drugs are really good in the Gotham universe. Just top tier drugs. It's crazy plans. It's the best drugs.
Yeah. So I could see them easily basically just be like, oh, by the way, so here's Harvey Dent. Here's all these characters. But I am going to double back and say 100% there's no way they're doing Mr. Freeze or anything like that. This story is going to from now on be gritty, real, and part 2, if it's not Hush, it's going to be another mobster. They're going to do something like Black Mask or something like that. Some new mobster that's entering the scene. Because they have this hard on for the mob, apparently, in this universe. And I'm ready to see the mob get creepy and weird.
Yeah, and there's been so much turmoil in the mobs of Gotham City that was made clear in this show. You have a power vacuum that any number of Batman psychopaths, if any person shows up and it was like, hey, I'm starting the Royal Flush Gang. These are my band of creepy weird pots. Like, it totally makes sense at this point.
It's a very, very interesting take on Gotham, and I'm really liking it. I want to see what they do next. They did reconfirm that the Batman Part 2 is coming out in October 2026. So everything is on board and ready to go for filming. And they're going to start filming this next quarter. So it's going to start moving, and we're going to start getting a lot of details very quickly.
Well, with Sopranos-like television shows, we usually don't get toys, but a major blockbuster, a movie that is going to be seen in cinemas all across this country, you probably need to get your toy line in production before your movie. When did this list hit the interwaves, Taylor?
So I've known about this list for a while. I heard about the details and the rumors about what was going to be happening in this thing, and I'm like, all right. So until I see the list, I'm not going to talk about it. Turns out the rumors and rumblings were very real, and the McFarlane shipping list, the toy list that was quietly confirmed and swept under the rug very quickly.
What is this list for? Is this for Target? Who looks at what? Who looks at this list?
McFarlane DC Multiverse adult collector's line, basically. Like the figures. I got one right here because I just got this yesterday, and I've been asking people, do you want me to open this thing and display it on my shelf, or do you want me just to like keep it in the box? And I'm getting a lot of people saying, open that shit. And I'm like, okay, maybe I will.
What is it? I'll tell you right now if you're going to open it.
Darkseid and Throne. Yeah. So it's one of these figures. It's one of these big 7-inch, crazy detailed figures.
In a pose, in a tableau of what their character would be doing.
Right, and I have other figures of the same way. I have a ton of these figures because I love the McFarlane figures. I have my San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, Old Man Wayne and Ace.
Wow, that's a great.
Everyone's like, "Oh, open your figures." I'm not opening this one. This is one of the few that I'm keeping in the box. But I will definitely open up some of them.
Do they have a Batman Forever Do they have a Batman Forever to accompany that old man?
I don't have a Batman. A Batman Beyond? No, I don't have the Batman Beyond figure for that wave yet. I have the Batman Beyond figure from the comics. I have a couple of those, and they're really cool. Let me grab them. They're just standing right here next to my desk.
It's so funny. I thought I called it Batman Forever. I don't know why I said that. Like, yeah, Batman's always in forever, right? There's a future version. Batman fan today, Batman fan tomorrow, Batman fan in the future.
All right, so I have the comic book Terry McGinnis.
Wow.
And he's got like the crazy detailed face. I've also got the other one around here somewhere. I don't know where it is, but it's got like the slit cover face, which is really cool looking. And then I'll have to find that one later. But then I got the exclusive where he's all messed up and his circuitry's all hanging out.
That's a crazy looking one.
Yeah, and apparently this circuitry glows, and I'm like, I don't like the glow factor, but the figure's cool.
Toys are always fun that glow, but like they understand that people don't play with these toys at night, right? You got to do daytime playing.
Yeah, this is daytime toy stuff.
Okay,
so I have a ton of these figures. So this list,
read me the list. Start at the top of the list and let's work our way down.
All right, so let me go through the list because the list was pretty damn spoilery.
All right, so let's put up the spoilers. Let's put up the spoilers tag. Everybody needs to know we're going to be talking about potential.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler
alert. All right. Here are the figures as they go down the line. DC Theatrical Deluxe 7-inch Wave 1 Superman and Crypto.
Okay, yes. Okay. And it's going to look like the dog from the movie.
And here's where the spoiler starts. Here we go. DC Theatrical Deluxe 7-inch Wave 1 Lex Luthor with Baby Kaiju.
Baby Kaiju.
Okay, wait for it. DC Theatrical Deluxe 7-inch Ultraman. DC Multiverse 7-inch Superman Metamorpho. 12-inch Superman statue form. So it's probably like the Batman one I have there where he's standing on the thing, but it's going to be him like being Superman-ish. DC Superman movie Megafig Kaiju. DC Direct Superpowers figure Metamorpho, Green Lantern, Mr. Terrific, Ultraman, Superman. These are all the 5-inch, those like 80s style figures.
Cool.
DC Superpower Vehicles, the T-Craft, the Fortress of Solitude Superman playset, and collector vinyl figure Baby Joe, Baby Kaiju, Metamorpho.
So
we already knew Metamorpho was there, but this is the first time they've actually flat out confirmed the presence of the Kaiju. And I heard this rumor a long time ago when I asked flat out, why is the JSA involved in this story? And they were said, oh, because they're fighting a Kaiju while Superman's fighting Ultraman. And I was like, okay, I hope that's real. That makes total sense. Now you look back to all of these set photos that had the T-ship saving the Daily Planet staff out of the building, Metropolis in wreckage, Crypto and Mr. Terrific doing their thing trying to stop something, and you realize that they're fighting a Kaiju. The Justice Society is fighting the Kaiju, where Superman is fighting, and now it's confirmed, Ultraman, the dude in the black suit who, again, spoiler within a spoiler, is a clone of Superman.
We got the eyeball monster, the classic Justice League villain
Yeah.
in the Suicide Squad movie.
Starro the Conqueror.
Do you think that we're going to have a movie exclusive kaiju that works for this story, or do you think that they pull from an existing kaiju in the DC universe? Also, are there existing kaiju in the DC universe?
Every once in a while, there is indeed a existing kaiju, but the only reason why I'm saying this is going to be an original kaiju is because the figure is called just the kaiju and not Starro the Conqueror or something like that. They were very specific on literally everything else but the name of the kaiju. So my thoughts is that Lex Luthor is playing the long game here. He's making a kaiju to stop the JSA, and he made the Superman clone to take down Superman. It all backfires, but he has no ties in it.
Do you think we see a scene where Lex Luthor is feeding the kaiju like a Saturday morning dad? Like he's giving him berries, or he's like feeding him pancakes or something, and he's like babying it like that. No, he lives in a laboratory in a
no. I very much see James Gunn taking Lex Luthor from like the comic books, and he's going to go down to his mad scientist lab underneath like the sub basement, and there's going to be a bunch of test tubes with like half-grown Superman, and there's going to be a kaiju in a pen or something, and he's like, "Is it ready?" No, it's still a child. Feed it the accelerant and then leave. Just be cold, calculated, and just a bastard. Very much like
the movie Toys with Robin Williams,
where he's just like, just do this, do it now, and just force everything to be like, he's going to be very much the Lex Luthor that we know from the comics, where to the public, he is this great philanthropist. And then as soon as the public's out of the room, he's like, I'm going to kill Superman violently. We're going to do it this way.
Oh, it's funny that you say it like that. Lex Luthor's kind of a reverse Batman then. The evil villain is who he truly is, but he wears the mask of ordinary, philanthropist.
Yeah, very much like he was in the old Justice League Unlimited show, where like in the old Superman show, he was very much like ribbon cutting and doing all this fun stuff, and then he was like, I'm tied to Intergang, I'm tied to this, I'm making this, I'm doing this. So you have this like almost Wilson Fisk level Kingpin style of persona, where he's like, on one side, I'm the man of the people, and the next side he's like, I'm going to kill everybody because I have to be the best.
This also means he's not in his robot suit, correct? Because that was
not in this one. I don't expect Luthor to. I expect some cameos. I could see easily at the end of the film, he'd be like, next time I'm just going to do it myself, and it's going to be panning to him with like the suit behind him.
Yeah.
I could see something like that, where they're just like flat out like, he's like, okay, well, making a clone didn't work. Making this didn't work. Next time, I'm just going to kill him with my bare hands.
I've only thought about this at this moment. His suit kind of reminds me of a Spider-Man villain suit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like the green and purple armor. It definitely is like, this was like during the era of like, is Norman Osborn and Lex Luthor the same person? Because they're really much like the Green Goblin. Like
they really could be best friends. If they were to switch places, they would continue the other person's legacy, no problem.
Yeah. You'd be like, oh, so in this universe, I'm a megalomaniac mad scientist who has robots and armor and weapons. Okay, so it's exactly the same thing.
Are there any names on the list you're surprised got a toy?
No, I was actually expecting. So they even said this Wave 1. So we already know that Wave 2 is also listed, and the Wave 2 is probably going to consist of Metamorpho, Green Lantern, Hot Girl, Mr. Terrific, and probably Supergirl when her inevitable cameo is part of the film, because we know that they're already going to start filming Supergirl soon, and it's going to segue right into that film. So it's almost a given at this point that she's in this film.
Segue as in the last moment of that movie, the camera turns, we continue with her movie,
possibly, or like the movie ends with Superman finding her, like he's in this fortress and like beep 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 entering the atmosphere, and he goes and catches Supergirl's pod. And she's like, I'm here for Kal-El. He's like, that's me. You've been frozen for a while. And then the next movie starts with him teaching her things. And she's like, I got to figure out how to be myself, and then leaves.
That's a bonus Superman movie, in my opinion.
Yeah,
that's the Superman that we just saw save the world. Now we get to see him be a fun uncle, or he's a cousin. He's a cousin, right?
He's a fun cousin, but she left him when he was a baby, like a few hours old. And he's now like in his 30s. And she's like, how are you an adult? He's like, time, space, warp thing. You were frozen. It happens.
It happens.
So they could very much do a lot of fun stuff, but I very much liked the confirmation that yes, baby kaiju, that's what the JSA is fighting, and then Ultraman has finally been labeled as Ultraman.
Well, but cloning Superman means Superboy eventually, right? It means that
You would
he's
think
in
so.
the he's in the
Yeah,
docket, he's in the test tube somewhere.
that's what I could see them like maybe even like a post-credit scene where Lex is like, this clone failed. Maybe we should try mixing it with human DNA, and then you have another like lab that says like Project Connor or whatever, like something, just him adding more to, like, because that's what he did with Superboy. When the first clones failed, he figured out the way to make them not fail was to mix his own blood into it,
Oof.
and that's where we got Superboy.
Oof.
Has the worst of Lex and the best of Superman.
I was about to say, the comic book community has become a little conservative in its thinking, and I wonder how they feel about the two gay dads of Superboy. I don't know if that's a very well known fact or not.
They always have this really funny joke in certain comics where he's like, "I don't have a mom, but I got two dads. One's a bad guy, and the other's his one's Superman, the other's his arch nemesis." But yeah, that's very much something they've been talking a lot about in the comics for better part of like since Connor was introduced, as like in the 90s. Like, this is Superboy. He's a clone of Lex and Superman.
If these characters from the movies are all getting toys, that means that these characters are going to be cool. I feel like they've been showing us Green Lantern and it's kind of silly without all the effects around him. But I feel like these characters are going to be accurate to their powers and summoning and all of that fun stuff.
So in my nerd brain, I'm seeing the JSA fighting a kaiju and Green Lantern saying, I got to match him. And then he's in a giant Green Lantern robot made out of a projection. Like, that's how he wows the audience, is like kaiju's ripping through the things. He's like, nope. And he's like basically like the Ready Player One Gundam scene, but it's Green Lantern with a giant robot or something. Like, I could see them doing something like that where he's just fist fighting, like almost Pacific Rim style, this kaiju.
Oh, I wonder if he does a known robot or if we get an original robot. And also, if he turns into a robot, that's also the toy, right? The toy's got to be
also not be just fun and on point if he just makes a giant projection of himself fighting.
Like a bigger version of himself.
Yeah, and you have Hot Girl smacking him with her nth metal thing, and Mr. Terrific and his T-spheres and his T-ship are flying around picking up pedestrians. And
is this the middle fight scene of the movie, you think?
This is like the climax of the movie, where they're fighting the kaiju and the Superman is having his big fist fight with Ultraman in the stadium, where he's like, they're fighting adjacent. But yeah, there's so much happening with this film that every little leak, every little tidbit I hear, I'm like, I don't want to hear anymore because I am so excited for this film now. So,
well,
they sold me with kaiju. There it is.
Yeah, and I love that it's a super. It's so funny where we got a fake Batman movie to introduce Superman in the Snyderverse, and this time around, it's like we're getting a Superman movie that's kind of a soft, like, oh, also there's all these other heroes that are also a part of the Rogues Gallery. I mean, or I should say, heroes. The throne of heroes. I also wonder if we also get that scene of like, oh man, that kaiju is too much. We really got to get some new members. Hot Girl, you go to that island and go check out this Wonder Woman that we've been hearing about.
Maybe they could do something a little on the nose of that. But from my understanding is that Superman's presence in this world is going to inspire these heroes to basically go against what they're charged with. Like, so we're kind of led to believe that the Justice Society, as I've been calling them, is the Maxwell Lord sponsored heroes, and they only do certain things within the government and Lord's discretion. And then Superman doing what he does inspires them to say, maybe we should just go into business for ourselves. Maybe we just need to step away from this. And that's probably when they have this conversation with him. It's like, maybe eventually we'll make our own club. And he's like, well, maybe a league or something like that. And he makes a reference to like moving forward with a bigger team where they're their own bosses, basically.
It's wild, Taylor, that they are going to do that, and we're going to get Justice League in the space station above Earth. Like, all the technology pieces are already there. You know what I mean? They just have to go, oh, it's for you. Especially when Batman decides to fund all of this as well. Like, they haven't even introduced Bruce Wayne's unlimited money into all of this.
Yeah, and then they've also got other members. I mean, Ted Kord, Bruce Wayne, even Max Lord, all of them just pulling their money together and buying a continent, basically.
Who's Green Arrow? Isn't he also rich?
Yeah, he's also crazy rich.
Okay.
But I could easily see them saying, okay, we have our new Justice League, and they set up like the Justice League building, and just like in the Young Justice cartoon, the building is basically just a like, here's the visitor center for the Justice League, and in the
Right.
middle of it, there's the teleportation room where you fly up to the space station, and they do something like that. Because from what we understand, James Gunn's universe is going to be easily more technologically advanced, because they're going to be saying superheroes and aliens have been around since the 40s and 50s. This world has changed technology-wise because of their inclusion. So we're going to see a lot of stuff that looks familiar, but probably also some flying cars and shit.
Listen, it's interesting to hear the confirmed of who we do get to spend time with. It's also interesting to see that, like, we don't get the new Batman yet. That, you know what I mean? Like, that stuff will have its time in the sun, but not anytime soon. Give that time a little bit more time to bake.
Yeah. And another fun little tidbit is, apparently while they're in production of this new Batman the Brave and the Bold film, sounds like that Batman may appear in another project beforehand to establish that he is not the Robert Pattinson Batman, to further differentiate the two universes. Because it definitely sounds like Pattinson's Batman's coming out in 2026 and the Brave and the Bold is 2027. So the only way they can make that work is to show this Batman elsewhere first, just so people are aware that there's two different worlds, two different Batman.
So Supergirl flies to Gotham City to find somebody, and runs into Bruce Wayne, and he's like, I'm not that person.
Or maybe in whatever film comes after this, maybe in the Authority film, that's inevitably they're going to make some reference to Bruce Wayne and his quest to not like
the next. I just watched that Batman movie again. There's so much of Seven. There's so much creepy stuff. Batman says at the end of that movie, I have to be something more than this. So we're going to see a different Batman even in that movie. And I wonder what that one looks like. And I bet it's going to look more like the 1960s. Like, I'm in this room and then I flip a switch and I go to a secret hallway. I think it's going to be more of that shit.
I don't see him going full camp. I fully expect the same costume to be in there, except with some new changes. Like, it's only been a month, so it's not going to be like, oh, new suit, new everything. It's like, okay, in the last couple of weeks, I just made myself a new mask.
He also is going to have some sort of inflatable device. He's been knocked into water so many points. He needs to have something to get him out of those situations.
The only thing that I really want Pattinson's Batman to have next going is, like, I missed his batarangs. He didn't have any. He didn't use any. He literally had his bat knife and his dart gun. I want to see this Batman start throwing ninja stars. I want him to be like, okay, he's not just a brawler. I want the ninja stars too.
Who tells him to use ninja stars? Somebody has to tell Batman to do it, and then he makes his version of it. Who tells him to do it?
I think we just get maybe a little flashback to his training, and he's like, maybe I should just start using the tools of my training. And him saying, I just have some new weapons now because I need to fight bigger crowds.
I mean, we haven't spent time doing any of that stuff.
No, it was a weird movie because it was like 3 hours long, and we know nothing about Batman and his journey.
No.
This was a very interesting take on him.
Some of the stuff that we know with him in The Butler.
Yeah. But not enough, actually. We know a lot about everyone else in that world, but nothing about Batman.
I don't think we're going to get it either. You know what I'm like, as I'm thinking about this, maybe if they do Hush, then we can see like a lot of backstory of like what led to this, and maybe a younger Bruce Wayne, but I don't know. Besides a story like that, I don't know. It's not really a flashback universe.
No, it's not.
We're going through the mystery with Batman.
I could see them doing something like, if it is Hush, right? So if they do move forward with Hush as the sequel, while he's investigating all of the clues, he tells Alfred, from my childhood, this was something that I did. And he basically tells the audience without showing the audience. Because I don't see them showing flashbacks, but I could see him having like home movies in the background or things like that. And like saying, when I was at school, young Bruce Wayne, young Tommy Elliott, when I was this, that wasn't loud, and just like do it all like that, with like showing and explaining without flashbacks. That's how I could see them do it. And then he'd just be like, while I was training to become this, I also spent time in Nepal and all these places, and I learned how to use these weapons. I'm going to start incorporating these again. And then just have him use exposition to explain his journey instead of Batman Begins, where half the movie he was being a ninja.
Right. He did a lot of ninja stuff in that movie.
So lastly, before we wrap, I did say that there was other stuff I wanted to talk about. So Star Wars. Are you ready for this, Michael? Because I'm really excited about this.
The guy who did the Apocalypse movie, they're giving him Star Wars.
Yes. And the reason why I am okay with that. Simon Kinberg, the co-creator and writer and close friend of Dave Filoni, the guy who helped create Star Wars Rebels with Dave Filoni, is now in charge of the story narrative for episodes 10, 11, and 12. So yes, he
listen.
has a lot of experience in the X-Men universe.
I'll believe it when I see it. They announce Star Wars movies and cancel them like they're going out of fashion. Okay.
Yes.
If we'll see where this gets.
This is the Dave Filoni era of Star Wars. All the Kathleen Kennedy crap is being quietly canceled. This is the Dave Filoni era. And it gives me so much confidence that they're hiring one writer to write and produce the next trilogy. And that writer is the guy that helped co-create Star Wars Rebels with Dave Filoni. And Star Wars Rebels was probably one of the best Disney era pieces of Star Wars property, hands down, because Dave Filoni basically was like, this is our love letter to George Lucas. Here's all the philosophy. Here's all the doctrine. Here's all the dogma. Here's all the stuff that George Lucas wanted in episode format. And if this is the guy that helped Dave Filoni write that story, I'm good with whatever he makes, especially if he's allowed to craft a trilogy.
I feel like we're backed into bringing Rey back, who I like Rey, but I guess people don't want Rey.
So Rey is coming back, but the details that came from this is that Rey is going to be the new Obi-Wan of this universe, where whoever the main character is going to be mentored by Rey. She's not the main character, but she is the one teaching the main character how to be a Jedi. So there's going to be a bit of a fast forward, maybe 10 years later. Rey is starting the new Jedi Order, and we're now following the new Jedi.
Do we bring everybody back?
Yes.
We got to bring back Poe. We got to get everybody back in the system and define what they've been doing.
Yep, we have to get them all back, and we have to see the state of the universe. But one thing that Dave Filoni does more than anything else is that he adheres to the doctrine of George Lucas. And the doctrine of George Lucas and how the Star Wars universe works was that the Force is true balance. And you cannot have light without the darkness. And if light is existing in this capacity, the darkness has to match it. So whatever they're doing, the villain is going to be something new, but it has to be something equal to the challenge of fighting the new Jedi Order.
Interesting. So we're going to see a rise of a Sith school or something to that effect.
Something of that nature. Because what we had in the Star Wars, the OG trilogy, the way George Lucas described it was that when Palpatine rose to power, Anakin rose as his opposite. And Palpatine knew that the only way to break that dyad of power was to not kill him, because another one would rise in his place, was to turn him. And what did the Force do after Anakin was turned? It gave 2 Jedi to replace him. Luke and Leia were now the ones that were matching Palpatine and Anakin. So now we have Palpatine is gone and dead. The Sith planet Exegol crumbled, and she is now moving forward with training the new Jedi Order in Luke's stead. Whatever she builds, the Sith has to match, because that is how the balance of the Force works.
It sucks that you can't. I hate that they killed Ben. They killed Ben Solo off. That you can't do anything with that. I mean, maybe you tie it in with him somehow, but I don't know. He just feels like a blip of a character at this point.
He was so good, and his change didn't feel as earned, but it also it made sense that him switching sides at the end and him fulfilling the role of what his family wanted him and overcoming the darkness. Yeah, that made perfect character sense for him. But him basically learning the way to overcome death and dying in the process, yeah, that sucked, because he was the best character of that trilogy. And maybe after the Knights of Ren or something, the Ren related, come back, and maybe it's like the Truth Sith, because apparently behind the scenes stuff that they didn't explain to anybody was that the reason he put his helmet back together was that was the only way the Ren would acknowledge his authority. So he put the helmet back together to command them again. And they went out like little bitches when he fought them with his lightsaber.
Yeah, they really should have explained. That would have been a great subplot. That would have all been really great, fun shit.
Yeah, there's so many. I mean, I want J.J. Abrams' cut of that movie, because apparently it's like 4 hours long and full of exposition and story that I want. But
yeah,
we got what we got, and it is disjointed. It's enjoyable, but it's disjointed. I like watching it, but I also like, there's things they could have done differently, because there's so much more they could have done here and here, but apparently they did, but they had to cut it all out.
Oof. Well, that's the end of that Star Wars trilogy. Just like this is the end of another episode of the Cultured Nerd Podcast. Thank you to all of our wonderful patrons. If you would like to head over to the patreon.com/the cultured nerd to come help support us, it would be greatly appreciated. Whip out those cell phones. Please like, comment, subscribe. All of those things do feed the algorithm, and we thank you for doing so. Question of the week. Now that we are filling out the Justice League, who do you want to see in Wave 2? Who else in the world is lurking to join the team? Taylor Murphy has been your host. I am Michael Santello, your co-host. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see all you kids and cats next time.
And there's probably going to be more DC content because apparently that's all you want to hear about. But hopefully something cool happens.
And Pokemon. We're going to talk about Pokemon more soon.
I think we should just do a whole episode of Pokemon and just be like, hey, everyone. No joke. I was actually going to say, everyone, guess this week we're covering the election and just go full on let's scorched earth this thing. But no, that was going to be that was the joke start to this episode. But no,
cool. Thank God. Thanks, Taylor. Bye.
I would have given you a heart attack. All right, bye.